I'm James. I'm a tech here at FARROW Harley-Davidson. Today we're going to go over, used bikes and when we get them in. Like today, we just got a shipment in of over 30 used bikes, and we're going to go over, our checklist and everything that we check on them to make sure that they're the highest possible quality that we can put out. And if they don't pass our checklist or what we think is, the bar to set, we don't put them out to the customers. The very first thing I'm gonna look at when I walk up to it is, you wanna visually look and see if it's like actually leaking any oil. Like if you can see from it just sitting here, if it looks like there's anything underneath it on the ground or anything like that. And as I get closer to the bike, I will start to actually put my hands on it and start checking things. Like you wanna make sure that all of the lights work properly. You have to have at least one mirror. You have to have front and rear turn signals, brake lights, a working headlight, and everything like that. So we'll go around and actually check everything. Put our hands on there. We want to make sure that these bikes are as safe as possible for the consumers to ride when they go out, and we make sure that they have things like mirrors, and like this bike doesn't have turn signals. This bike doesn't have that also. So the person that had this before was going for a look, and that doesn't follow the rules of the road that these bikes need to have. So us with having a high standard, we want to make sure that they have everything that they need to have to be safe out on the road. Okay, after I get out the visual, what I want to do is I actually want to start and run the bike. I'm listening for things, so we're going to start this one up now, and I'm going to just put my ears on it and listen to make sure that everything sounds the way that it should without getting too deep into the process at first. So while it's running, you have a lot of moving parts in this area all around your crankcase and your cam compartment. And I want to actually listen to make sure that it sounds the way that it should. And on cold startups, it could be an indicator. If it starts making noise after it's warmed up, could be an indicator of something. Or if you're on the throttle while you do it, that could be an indicator of something. So we're really getting into these bikes to make sure that there isn't any kind of hidden problems. That I didn't hear anything on initial startup. We didn't really, it needs to warm up to get all the fluids to the correct temperature to make sure, because it could change after it's been running for a couple minutes. The next step would be to let it warm up, get it to operating temperature, bring it in here and put it on my lift, and then go over the mechanical things that I know that it needs. Like we check how many miles the bike has on it coming in, and according to those miles, we'll do a K service, and a K service is another checklist that Harley puts out for us to go over things that we check at different miles and stuff. This one is getting just a simple, because it's in between two K services. The K service is every 5,000 miles, according to Harley. It's in between two, so we're just gonna I'm gonna check the other fluids, but we're gonna do just a crankcase oil change. So I will take it outside, let it warm up, and then bring it in here, and we'll start to do the crankcase oil change while I'm checking other things. All right, so now we're gonna take it outside, we're gonna warm it up, and then I'm gonna bring it in here, I'm gonna put it on my lift, and we're gonna get at it. While it's still hot, I'm going to drop the crankcase oil, and then I will start checking all the critical fasteners, be like your motor mounts, anything with suspension, any of these bolts that I can get a tool on, I'm gonna check to make sure that they're tight and to torque specs. And then I'm gonna visually go over the brakes, the tires, the wheels themselves. I will lift the bike up off the ground or off my lift and spin the wheels to check to make sure that the rim is trued and that it has good wheel bearings. I'm gonna check the brake fluid. I'm going to check to make sure that it has a Harley battery. We don't put any used bikes out without making sure that it has a Harley battery, and if it has an aftermarket battery, we go ahead and replace that. Tires come with a date code on there. We have a set number that if they're older than a certain date, or if it has a certain tread depth, we'll change the tires. Another thing we do is we go over all of the electronics, like a radio, stereo, more lights, LEDs and stuff like that. We want to make sure that everything's working properly. We check the charging system, and then even we plug it into our computer. We check what kind of tune it might have. If it is just stock, there could be updates for your ECM, your ABS or something like that, and we can reflash all that and get all of your electronics up to date that it needs to be. We spend about an hour and a half on each bike. It could be more, it could be less, depending on the size of the bike. The bigger the bike, longer the time. Every single bike that comes in here gets this kind of attention because we want them to be worthy to give to our customers with our name on it.